attribute of dignity in labor. It came with a prize of heroes past, commemorated in the wall of work, to remind us that labor as a tool of production has been a voice, and that voice has to be heard in our quest for sustainable development and economic growth. We may further go down history lane. Prior to the advent of May Day, to the primitive man and his society, when there were hunters and gatherers, and the then primitive or ancient man that knew the value of his tool of labor and the dire need to protect such tools. Such needs were inherent and instinctive. As we have progressed to date, we equally accord importance to labor, and hence there are specialized institutions for labor matters, auxiliary thereto, and internationally. We have the International Labour Organization, specialized organ of the United Nations that deals with labor matters and its ancillary matters. With help of these institutions, a conglomeration of rights and principles pertaining to workers' rights have been enunciated, and some of those rights have been identified as fundamental, and as such have been enshrined as a yardstick for compliance among nations in terms of workers' rights violations or promotion. I regard the theme for this year's celebration as appropriate, considering that this marks my last attendance as the nation's May Day celebration in my capacity as President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of our dear country. We have gone through the throes of negotiation and collective bargaining mechanisms, utilizing the instrument of social dialogue, and like in any other human relationship, sometimes we agree to agree or disagree to agree, but always progressively seeking a consensus for the better society and economic growth. We have experienced together the hardships of economic recession in 2016 and the triumph of its recovery. We have also gone through the horrific period of the pandemic, the global COVID-19 pandemic and its aftermath. Businesses and jobs were lost, and new forms of employment relationship emerged mostly in the teleworking sector of the economy. The monumental importance and relevance in terms of the number in the economy became pronounced, and its vulnerability was highlighted during this time. Social protection mechanisms, both institutionalized and on a ad hoc basis, were fashioned out to strengthen and implement at both national and subnational levels to cushion the adverse effects of the pandemic. And additionally, bailout funds were used to aid some medium and small-scale enterprises to survive. We as a nation appreciate the four-pillar policy framework for tackling the socio-economic impact of the COVID-19 crisis to ensure recovery that was put in place by the ILO, and the well-coordinated outcome of the World Economic Summit on the subject held in order to work out ways and means to rebuild and better that which the COVID-19 had ravaged and destroyed. We thank God that we are alive to tell the story today. Many did not make it. In 1994, the challenges of globalization were seen as impinging negatively on these rights at work and sometimes resulting in unfair labor practices, thereby precipitating debate in the world of work to define a fine path for progress. It was acknowledged that although globalization is a factor of economic growth, and economic growth is regarded as a prerequisite for social progress, however, there is need for the growth to be accompanied by a certain number of consensual social ground rules to enable equitable distribution of the anticipated wealth generated by all factors of production: labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. In June 1998, a declaration was automatically made by the ILO to establish a social minimum at the global level to respond to the realities of globalization. Hence, the birth of the ILO Declaration on Fundamental Principles and Rights at Work in 1998 and amended in 2022 as an expression by the tripartite body of the ILO, the government, employers, and workers' organizations, to uphold basic human values regarded as vital socio-economic lives by affirming to the 5 broad categories of workers' rights at work, embodying more than 9 conventions. 1, freedom of association and the effective recognition of the right of collective bargaining. 2, the elimination of all forms of forced or compulsory labor. 3, the effective abolition of child labor. And 4, the elimination of discrimination in respect of employment and occupation. And lastly, 5th, a safe and healthy working environment. Recently, the Federal Executive Council has, in consonance with deepening our support for the workers' right, passed the national rights. Nigeria, as a viable member state of the ILO and a connoisseur of workers' rights, had ratified the conventions of the ILO guarding the promotion of rights at work. In all these waves of rights and obligations in the world of work, the linkages between workers' rights and social economic justice have been identified and made a declaration by the International Labour Organization. In the year 2008, the ILO adopted a landmark declaration on social justice for a fair globalization to strengthen and promote the core conventions and decent work agenda. It served as a reward or a renewed statement of faith, advocating decent work policies in response to the increasingly precarity of labor due to globalized economies, and to forge a collective and effective response to other workplace challenges in globalization. The government affirms the need for the enthronement of decent work, which sums up the aspiration that all people have for their working lives, for work that is productive, delivers a fair income with security and social protection, safeguards basic rights, offers equality of opportunity and treatment, prospects for personal development, and the chance for recognition and to have your voice heard. These elements of decent work concur with our commitment to the reduction of poverty and helps forge a path to achieving equitable, inclusive, and sustainable development, and ultimately peace and security in communities, and this makes for a sound social economic justice for all. Workers' rights, coupled with socio-economic justice, make a happy workplace. We therefore agree that a fair economic structure targeted at creating opportunities for all to succeed, irrespective of sex, race, ethnicity, age, disability, creed, religion, etc., is a sine qua non for progress and development. I encourage the incoming administration to continue to respect workers' rights, imbued with socio-economic development and driven by the 4 pillars of decent work agenda to promote jobs and enterprise, guaranteeing rights at work, extending social protection, and promoting social dialogue for consensus building and maintenance of industrial relationships. We therefore, as a government, preserve work rights for the workers and following that enthroned socio-economic justice as exemplified in the following. 1, collective bargaining for a minimum wage as we did in 2019. 2, we presented bills to the National Assembly, which we passed at the Federal Executive Council, which will be sent to the National Assembly for consideration, where we removed about 7 obsolete legislations that deal with labor. Thirdly, the Nigerian Labour Advisory Council was resuscitated as a means of giving voice to the working forces in this country. And fifthly, like I said, we have approved 2 bills that will help in ensuring that fundamental laws that apply in different climes are also captured in our Nigerian legislation. I wish you all a happy Workers' Day and to thank you